The ref. Sorry about that. There we are. All right. Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Did you get something to eat?
No, I'm good. I think.
Check, check, check. I don't think. Hey, everyone. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. So if you need a drink in your hand, go get one. I just did. And there's lots of food over there, too, if you want to go grab something to eat. So everybody, about 5 minutes from now, we're going to get seated. Is it good? Can everyone make their way to the seats over there? Everybody make their way to the seats? Unless you're the non-paid help. Everybody, make your way to the seats. That's Ashton, you're not special here. You're going to make your way to the seats too. Shaner, make your way to the seats. Let's get on in there. All you guys, you can kind of make your way, mosey that way. Find a seat. Bradley, time to get your seat. Come on, Bradley, move along. Rick, Riley, find a seat there, guys. We got lots of them in the front there. Slide on forward. I see a whole row here, so anybody that's shy and doesn't think they have a seat, slide on up. Shawnee, there's seats for you. Brayley back there, we can get a drink, and Dr. Rick is getting a little beverage back there with his son, so we'll get everybody rolled forward. Kim, you can take a seat too. So first off, did everybody get a raffle ticket? If you didn't get a raffle ticket, Kim will bring these around. Raise your hand if you don't have a raffle ticket, because you're going to want one of these later. So, and don't take two. So it looks like everybody's got them, right? If everybody's listening here, we got lots of talking. So if you got someone next to you like Brayley, nudge her and say, stop talking. And we're going to get this place really quiet, really quick here. There you go, Brayley. Well done. So, hey, everybody. Percy, we're ready to start the show. So thank you to everyone that's out here for shout out for Stigma. How about that? Like this is the first time we've ever done this. How about that? And so lots of people to thank, and first off, we're going to start with Ramos Law. This is their offices here, and we're not paying for this, so big hand for those guys right off the bat. And all of the food and drink was donated. Carboy Winery, Liquid Death, and I'm going to forget the name of the Danico Brewery, all donated, and we had our two bartenders here dressed nicely. Big hand for all the beverage guys. And Erin made a few calls. This is Erin right here. Give her a hand. She put this thing on. So she makes a few calls and said, who's around here that might do food? She calls Bad Daddies. She calls them, and they go, she says, who is this? She said, Dawg Nation. Guy goes, do you know Marty? How about that? So Bad Daddies turned around and donated all the food. How about that? So everything was, it's been terrific, but we're going to start things off. A lot of people don't know really what Dawg Nation is. Basically, it started as a passing of a hat in a beer league locker room 13 years ago, and it turned into something that none of us could have ever imagined, and we've been able to help families in need to the tune of over $4 million. Pretty amazing. So, and we've got recipients in this room. We've got volunteers in this room. We've got sponsors in this room. We've got board members in this room. So it's pretty neat to kind of see all this going on. But we're going to start off with a short video here to kind of tell you what Dawg Nation is, right? We're going to start with that. So it's going to be on both of these screens right here, I think.
What began with the passing of a hat in a locker room has evolved into something we could have never imagined.
So here we are, the future's now.
This is the awesome organization, really close to my heart. We're helping the people, they need help.
The stage is set,
Shot on the backside and scores.
the lines are drawn.
So we've got a fast break here.
Today you shine, my.
What an honor it is to serve people and families in their greatest time of need.
miss.
Dave Carr was one of our recipients at last year's Dog Bowl, and
I'm so fortunate to be alive today. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
You were born to fall.
Dawg Nation is a rallying point for this huge, amazing hockey community to get together and lift each other up.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got some sled action here.
Dawg Nation is why I love hockey.
You're not alone. We've been here before.
Dawg Nation is love.
On giant shoulders.
Bukes with some speed, head up, lifts it over one man, collides big time with Angeline.
Dawg Nation is confidence.
now this is Don Kroom. Don is a cancer survivor. What an incredible move!
It has allowed me to see how strong I can be.
Back up to Aiden Thompson. Thompson shows some speed. Thompson drives it in. Shot goal!
There are no words that can express how great these guys are and the goodness that they stand for.
You were born to break.
Dawg Nation supports our veterans.
You could come back strong. The only way to start.
Dawg Nation changed my life by allowing me to get back to where I was before chaos turned everything upside down.
Terry with his head up, avoided one, and with confidence takes it into the zone.
It's hard to find a better cause than this.
It's just awesome feeling, and I'm all in.
I just like being out there on the ice and having fun. It feels nice. I like being on the ice. Yeah, I love being on the ice.
Dawg Nation is
dependable. You were made with wings.
I'm doing so well in my life because of all the help that they've ever done for me.
So that you
We are just so thankful to be a part of Dawg Nation.
be the man.
To simply put it, Dawg Nation people represent the very best of the human spirit.
You were born to win.
The hockey community is one that it's like none other. It really is.
Dawg Nation surrounds people with love and community.
This game is about hope. This game is about resilience. This game is about celebrating life.
This is Arnie Archuleta in the fight for his life. Let's hear it for Arnie Archuleta. Yeah!
We've been privileged to help families financially with millions of dollars in aid by touching their lives and having their story impact our lives and the lives of countless others. How do you measure that? Priceless. That is Dawg Nation.
So thank you for that. That's a young man named Brandon Lee that did that for us, CU grad, and put that whole thing together, all no cost to Dawg Nation. So we were able to help other families, and you can kind of see a lot of the families that were affected there, some of them right here in this room that we're talking on that video, which is pretty cool. So one of the things that happened with Dawg Nation, and these guys I think we're gonna get this one right this time, but we got you guys good on this? We're good. So Jared, you good? Okay, so This is, a lot of people know about the Humboldt Broncos. It was a bus crash on April 6th, 2018 that took the lives of 16 people, and 13 people survived. That was up in Humboldt. It was one of the biggest hockey tragedies ever, not just in Canada, just in the entire world. To this day, that's the largest GoFundMe in Canada history. Never mind for hockey, like in Canada history. And what a lot of people that follow Dawg Nation know that a lot of those boys are kind of like my nephews now. And of those 13 boys that survived that accident, 11 of them have stayed at my house. So pretty cool. Over the last several years, and actually the next one's going to be staying here in about a month for the Dog Bowl and playing there for us. But one of the young men in that accident was a guy named Tyler Smith. And Tyler came out of that accident somewhat unscathed compared to a lot of the other people in that accident. But Tyler was really, it affected him mentally. And we've got a mental health night here. And he actually started a group over there. He called me. He said, how do you do a nonprofit? And so he started a group over there in Canada, young man. He's only like 20 years old, called It's Okay Not to Be Okay, and started a whole clothing line and everything. So he's not here today, but what he did is he made a video for tonight. So how about that? So let's take a look at this. This is what Tyler sent us just this week.
What's up? I'm glad you guys are all taking part in Shutout for Stigma. Dawg Nation, as always, doing amazing things. And this one hits close to home, the mental health space, a very uncomfortable space, a space that a lot of us don't know about. And a lot of us don't fully understand the layers and complexity of mental health and grief and trauma and tragedy and all that comes with mental health. But a couple things for me. I just want you all to remember that it's not about comparing your story. It's about being able to find a common ground. It's about being able to relate. It's about being able to maybe find something that might click with you, that might work with you, that everybody's journey looks so much different, and everyone is fighting a battle that you have no idea about. So the best thing that you can do is stay open-minded. Approach each day as it comes. Every day is a new day. And sometimes you really do need to find what works for you. And one of the biggest things I've learned over these past couple of years since April 6, 2018 is how important it is to listen. And I think for me, when I started having meaningful conversations about mental health and about how I'm doing and about my emotions and my struggles and everything, I was always looking for that perfect advice, that perfect feedback. But it's truly not about that. It's about just honestly sometimes having a sounding board. So when you're in a conversation, just remember that being a good listener really does dictate how good that speaker is going to be, especially in a meaningful conversation that is revolving around emotions, that is revolving around it's okay to not be okay, and revolving around an uncomfortable space like mental health, and one that we are constantly evolving and constantly growing within. And I just want you to remember that your story matters, and you are loved, and you are never ever alone. So just remember that, and just remember that mental health isn't a battle to be won. It is a journey to continue walking. It's been a hard couple of years. It's been a constant grind for a lot of people, and it's been a constant battle. And be proud of the small victories. Be proud of the small little things that you do, and remember to accomplish something good and something positive for yourself each and every day. Whether that's a big gulp of water, whether that's a walk outside, whether that's a therapy session, everybody's journey looks so much different, and what works for me is not going to work for 90% of the world or 99% of the world. So take it day by day, and just remember to hold compassion, hold empathy, hold kindness, because those will always trump everything. But it's not all fine and dandy. As soon as you start putting your mental health at the forefront of your life, it's not all rainbows and butterflies and roses. There's going to be hard days, and there's going to be a lot of struggle, and there's going to be cases of tomorrow was never promised. So remember to hold love, remember to remember that you just never know what somebody may be going through. So remember that you never know when somebody needs to see something or needs to hear something. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I'm proud of you all. I love you, Dawg Nation. And I hope this event is the epitome of remembering that every story matters and your story matters, and you never know what you're going to connect with or resonate with. So keep the faith and keep going, and your people are watching. And
yeah, that's he's watching today, so that's pretty cool that he's seeing you guys right now and hearing you guys. And that was tough for Ryan to do that, like to come out and say ironic, right, Ryan? And so it's it was for us. Dawg Nation really helps people a lot of times physically and like mentally a little bit, like in a different way, but with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, and Erin kind of saw this and she said, why don't we step our game up? We put these posts and we say we talk about mental health awareness and we care about that, and we didn't want it just to be lip service, and we wanted it to be real. And what happened was right at that same time period when I was here, as me and Ashton, right in the back there, we're podcast guests right in this building, is the day after I met you, Rick. And I was like, something's putting this all together. And I already knew Sandy very well over many years, and I've known Johnny for many, many years too. So we were able to put together an amazing panel tonight. And you guys are going to hear from 3 different people. One of them's Johnny Plover right here. One of them's Sandy Clough right here. And one of them's Dr. Rick Perea right here. Give them all a hand. We're going to give them all proper introductions. And the first one you're going to hear from is a guy named Johnny Plover. And Johnny Plover came into Dawg Nation's world. Actually, he was working at the Edge Ice Arena, and we had just started. And we had I think it was Dog Bowl 2, so it was quite a few years ago. And my wife was running our auction, and this guy came up and told his story to her. And John, I'm going to let Johnny tell his story, but basically high level, this is a vet. This is a hockey player. This is a 2-time Purple Heart recipient, and this is a hero to the United States right here. And but Johnny's gone through a lot since then, and he's going to share a little bit about that. He's probably going to struggle a little bit with that right now, because I can see that already. But Johnny, I got your back. I always do. You know you're not alone, right? When you're with Cappy. So let's hear it for Johnny, and let's see how we get through this.
I appreciate it, but I don't need one of these. You don't need it? Okay. Just so everybody can hear me, by the way. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, he does want you to do this, so it can go on the.
Oh, so it can be recorded?
Yeah. It's
How far away? Is that good? That closer?
Right there.
That good? All right. Sorry. Microphones aren't my thing. Sorry.
You have to go a little closer. Right in here.
This game of ours. I apologize. I'm sorry. I was doing fine all day until that video.
I'll hold the mic.
Sally.
Can I hold the mic first? Can I hold the mic first?
I got it. I got it.
Okay, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. So, I'm a survivor. And I think it was 2015. I think that was the Dog Bowl. I think it was that year. Like you said, you heard the story. And from that first day, It gave me back my life. It really did. And I say that because even when for some people, you know, those 3 hours once a week, sitting in a nice rink, can be more powerful than anything you could ever imagine. It's not like other sports. It's not like football. There's nothing that can compare to it. I mean, obviously, this is a testament. You know, I've never heard of another organization like it. So when I contacted Marty out of the blue, because I disappeared for a few years, I went back up north, kind of by myself. Well, actually, one ranch was by myself, out in western Nebraska. It's about being alone. And it gave me a lot of time to figure some stuff out. And what I figured out was, you don't have to do this by yourself. See, I have my family's not real tight, so no one has ever brought up the question of what happened. In 2007 and most of 2008, to be honest with you, we incurred quite a number of casualties. I mean, from beginning of December was when we first took over, and we were, honest to God, the first day out, driving down the road, double stacked landmines underneath, right behind me. Half a second before, I'd be a lawn dart. But from then on, it was It was 70% boredom and 30% sheer terror. For the fact is, you know how it's not day by day, it's step by step. And during all this, never bothered me. You know, I had people to take care of. I was part of a sniper team. Didn't bother me. That was my job. Everything's fine. But I think of it as like a train. You know, as you're going along in your careers and just to anybody, everything you do, like passengers, everybody's getting on. Somebody's getting on, somebody's getting off. But they made me retire. So in my mid-30s, I'm thinking, all right, now what do I do? You know, I gotta start all over again. And that wasn't as difficult as proved to be, but going through now, you know, now when you get done and you're older, you're retired, this train pulls into the station, and you know, there's people getting on and off that you totally forgot about. Never even, you know, it took you a while to remember. But what the important thing is, though, is that they're getting off, and now you got to deal with it. So I can attest the Army's got a manual for everything. Everything. Not for that. And it's not the fact that once you learn it, you can't turn it off. There's no off switch. So a lot of that ties into the rest of your life. How do you handle situations? How do you have a conversation with someone? How do you just genuinely be in front of a room of people? And it used to terrify me. Terrify me. Worst thing I could do would be in a room full of people. Worst thing that could happen. Why? I have no idea. You can ask Sully, you can ask, you know, anybody who knows me. I have been blessed with the gift of gab. That is true. Not gonna lie to you. I can't talk. Once I pull myself together, the trick's getting them to shut up. That's why I say I really don't need a microphone. But, and then that, from that night, they presented me with this stick. It was a really cool one. It was made by Fisher. It's camouflage. It was a nice thing. And they were going to auction it off. Yeah, but he decided to come, him, Sully, I can't remember who else was there. But he gave it to me. And that ignited something again. It did. It's not a fun thing to talk about. It's not. Like I said, I've been, ever since I agreed to, when I talked to Marty and I agreed to do it, I've racked my brain on what I was going to say and what I was going to do. And of course, that all went out the window. So, and it made me realize that for as lonely as I was, they made me, oh, pardon me. You're not by yourself. You're not alone. And you'd hear it, it's kind of like a rhetoric. You know, they used to tell us, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can talk to these people, you can talk to those people. But it's the fact that a lot of the type A personalities, we call meat eaters, were the guys who kicked in doors, jumped out of helicopters, all the stuff that I did. That's a different bunch. That's a different breed. There's a lot of competitiveness. There's always been. It's ingrained in you. And especially to be something like that, it's fucking long. You live that way and your mindset is that way, and that's the reason why you were put there. You may have thought you chose it and picked it, but you were put there for a reason. And trying to understand that I got to figure something out. I got to do something. I'm a single dad of two. Got divorced probably, what was that first year? It was like 2015. 2.5 years after I got retired. So that was a whole nother ball game that led to a day where I felt just defeated. Just, you know, you get knocked down, and everybody does. But you gotta put your hat back on. Find your horse, first of all, and then try to get back on it. So I'd lost that completely. The divorce, everything going on. Hated my job, hated everything going on except for Hunter and Violet. That was it. And I didn't realize it until years later that what a catastrophe it would have been if that branch didn't break or if that knot didn't come open. And you know, I've dealt with knots my whole life. I mean, it's what I do. You tie everything so you don't fall out of a helicopter. You tie everything so you don't lose it. Call it what you want. Divine intervention, I don't know. But it didn't hold. It didn't hold. I remember blacking out. I remember going dark. And then I remember just shaking uncontrollably. Or at least I thought it was. And the only thing I could think of was just, make it stop. Just whatever, make it stop. And next thing I knew, I took a breath. I was face down in this little creek. Not only did the branch break, and I had some rash, you know, in my neck and everything, but gave myself another concussion, as if I didn't have enough. And scared that somebody saw me. Weirdest feeling. that whole time was strange. Like you were being pulled to do something. Like it wasn't really you. So, and then that's when I defeated it by opening my eyes again. And it's not one of those, you know, it's all sunshine and rainbows, and you gotta smile all the time or be in a good mood, because that shit ain't gonna happen. The toughest part is realizing that that's not gonna happen. That, hey, people aren't gonna like you. You know, you don't like certain people. Just not going to. Just doesn't want to do it. But not liking me, that was the worst. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Sure, she couldn't ask anybody. And then our paths crossed for a reason. And hockey is definitely a sport that you can't do it by yourself. You're not alone. You are not alone. Oh, sorry.
People want to hear you. I'm going to hold
Nobody wants to hear my voice. You can't play this game by yourself. You can't. It's not like basketball where, you know, I guess you can get up and down, but you know, you can be dominant. Well, yeah, you can be dominant in hockey, but it's not going to last if you don't have 4 other guys on the ice with you. Like I said, that gave me back something that's long gone. And in 2008, October 7th, I got hit with 800 pounds of homemade explosives. Guy had it in his car. You remember the old, it's like the early 90s, the Caprices, the Chevys, the big bubble butt cars? Remember the cops used to use them? Yeah, right, I remember. It was one of, it was that model of car. And everything happened within seconds, really. I was looking over my right shoulder. I made sure everybody was out of the neighborhood. Of course, we had 10 trucks, not just 4. And going down and looking, and I remember saying, all right, Tommy's truck's out of the neighborhood. And the only thing I could hear after that was something about a white car. So by the time I turned to the left, probably as close as me and Mr. Clef there, I looked right at him. Dude's hands were taped to the steering wheel. Pure white tape. Pure white dashiki. And nothing's pure white in that country anyway, so kind of put 2 and 2 together, and last thing I remember saying, oh shit. And I remember putting my head down. I'm not really sure what that was supposed to do, but must have did something right. Because when I finally woke up, and that was the question every doctor would like to ask, how long were you knocked down? I don't know, I was knocked out. So I wake up and I can't see anything, I can't hear anything. The blast was so close that there was nothing but black smoke and no eardrums at that point. There's a couple movies that have gotten close to it, that have gotten it right. But nothing relates to it. And when I came to, I thought to myself, oh shit, I'm dead. I'm like, oh man, I'm being disappointed. Like, man, I don't want to be dead. So everything starts kind of coming back to you. You get, you know, bits and pieces you're hearing, and I remember somebody in my face yelling at me, finally like, huh? So I come to, and, you know, try to gather my wits about me that had been, you know, blown all over the truck along with a brand new pack of cigarettes. That was a little disappointing too. I told myself, like, you gotta get up. You're sitting duck, you gotta get up. And my left leg was between the radios and the roof in front of me. So it was turned kind of like that. And I was wedged down on the floor between the radios and the ammo. I don't know how I fit in that little small space. But I remember pulling myself together, like, you gotta get up. There's nothing, there's no other answer, you have to get up. And I got up, I happened to splint my leg. I put a seam splint around it. Took a cravat and put my left arm across my body and made a sling. And then reloaded my machine gun and turned it into a machine gun position until probably 20 minutes later, before they literally pulled me out of the truck and said, you gotta go, which is understandable. So the drive down to the cache was with people we didn't know. So that was still putting everything together of what had happened. And get to the cache, and of course going through exploratory and everything like that, moving me from one gurney to the next. My IVs get ripped out. It's like, really, fellas? Like, this is just the icing on the cake. So, and that always made me think, and always gave me hope that I can do anything. And you don't know what's going on in somebody's head. You don't know what kind of travesty or trauma or, just thoughts that you have no idea where they come from or whose they are, but they're in your head. And you got to deal with it. There's no other answer. You can't just like give them back or anything like that. It's a constant, I wouldn't say struggle. It's a constant battle for balance that, because of what I did in my job and everything, in which I have no ill will, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Balance in between the balance is defined who you are. It's what you were before, and all of a sudden that's your identity, right? And all of a sudden it's not you anymore. So how do I rebuild this? I have 2 little kids. I don't know where, marriage is already done by then, but, I have 2 little kids, My son turned 15 yesterday. I remember the day he was born. I was on a mission. And I used a satellite phone. I used a satellite phone to call home to see if he was born yet. That was always one that went down pretty good. That was always a good story. I didn't meet him until he was 5 weeks old. Just logistics, things like that. No, again, harbor nothing against it. It was life, it was work. It's just what happened. But how can I be that guy for my kids again? And I can't, because that guy's dead. And one of those 3 times where between December 3rd, 2007, and October 7th, 2008, both of we call them alive days, because for all intents and purposes, you should be dead. So that's your alive day. And somebody thought and saw what I did or whatever, and I have 2 medals of valor for each of those days. And a lot of people would ask me, how do you just throw that away if you're going to go kill yourself? you don't think about anything like that. There's nothing there. Like, you're already a blank slate. You're just there. There's no way I could put it. The one thing that I can't really ask you, I have to tell you, is just be there for someone if you have to. Just, in passing, just ask, hey, you all right? Doing okay? I mean, I drive my boss nuts throughout the day. I'm like, you okay? You good? What's going on? It's just that you have to remember that you're not alone. And for that person who is or feels like they are, it's definitely hard to get it through to them. Because usually by that point, and this is from me, by that point you've already encased yourself in stone. Nothing's going to, if nobody wants to ask, nobody wants to help, then fine, moving on, doesn't matter, just stone. And that's you can't do that. It's deteriorating. Since about the beginning of the Dog Bowl, there was probably 2 or 3 good years, but it's, like I said, it's a struggle. 6 months ago, I was homeless. I was living in my truck. Just what happens. You move on. Things, you just gotta, no matter what you do, you gotta get back up. Because everybody deserves a day off. It's true. There's days, you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want to cook, you just mad. Don't want to do anything. And the other side of you kicks in, and it's like, wait a minute, we can't do this. Come on. And that's when you pull yourself back up. And that's when you make a phone call, write an email. But you can't leave it on the onus of that person, because that person's already got enough going on that they probably don't even realize what it is. Bless their hearts. But, I'm not the worst case I've ever seen and been around, because I did hang out on the 5th floor of a mental hospital. So just a week here and there. Well, no, it's probably like 2 weeks really. But hey, it helped. For whatever reason, it helped. And just, if I can, like I said, if I can leave you with one thing, it's just remember that you're not by yourself. Yeah, it's fine.
Give Johnny a hand. How about that? So Johnny just whispered me. That is way harder than I thought it was going to be. So this is an American hero here. This is a hockey teammate. This is a friend, and this is a guy that needs some help, and that's why we're here today, right? And we can all see that, and he's proud and proud American man here, and he's not afraid to ask for help. And as he said, you're not alone, and that's why we said shout out Stigma, because this is what it looks like, you guys. So with that, one more hand for Johnny, and we're going to introduce our next guy. All righty, that was powerful. so Johnny, well done out of the gate. The next guy is he's been friends with me for many years, and if you're a Denver sports guy, you know this guy. Sandy Clough has been on the airways of Denver for over 43 years. Like, that's a long time, and it's fun for me because I'm a huge sports fan, especially Denver sports, and sometimes it sounds egotistical, but it's hard to find someone that I can talk Denver sports to. But this guy crushes me on it. So it's fun to go back all the way back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and Sandy and I have a coffee and we just talk about these amazing things with the late great Mike Christie or with Jeff Kingery or whatever. We'd have coffees together. It was just awesome. But Sandy also has me on his show once in a while, which is really good. He lets us tell our story, and which is really, really awesome from that standpoint. But Sandy's just like all the rest of us from the outside looking in. You go, God, what a freaking great life that guy has. He gets to talk about sports and be with all these sports guys for his entire life. Like, who gets to do that? How awesome is that? Going to Super Bowls and Stanley Cup Finals and now NBA championships. But everybody's got their story, and they're not always what they look like from the outside. And so this is my good friend, Sandy Clough. Give him a big hand.
I think I'm mic'd up. Seems that I am. Don't try this at home. I'm a professional. What you just heard, I think it's pretty self-evident, but I just want to pay tribute to Johnny. I don't know Johnny. I haven't met him until tonight, but that took a tremendous amount of courage. Get up here and speak. And I think people who are struggling with mental health issues are the most courageous people around. And having had my own mental health challenges, and having roughly a year later in my life, my son confront perhaps a different set of issues, but they were related to mental health. And to have had my son take his life 6 years ago this month, on the 4th day of May in 2017, really, ever since when I had the opportunity to talk about Ryan, I'm not talking in my voice. Every day on the air, I speak for myself. My thoughts are my own. My mistakes are my own. If I say something reasonably intelligent, it's my thought. But I'm speaking for Ryan tonight, and I can't thank Marty enough for giving me this chance, and to be in the company of great people like Johnny and my good friend Rick Perea. We were we were introduced by a mutual friend a little more than 10 years ago. And this mutual friend was a big sports fan, listened to me, and he said, you know, Rick Perea would be not only a fantastic guest, but he would be unlike anyone you've ever had on the radio before. And that certainly proved to be the case. And since I'm a radio announcer, I tease things out. And if you have a chance to listen to Mile High Sports Radio, 98.1 FM, tomorrow, Rick, around 2:30, is that what we decided on? Would 2:25 be all right, by the way? 2:25. Okay. See, I'm a radio guy. This has to be down to the exact minute. And we take a commercial break at 2:21, 2:22. And it's usually about 3 minutes. So Rick will come on right after that. 2:25 tomorrow afternoon. But I've been doing this with with Rick, and I've learned so much. And Rick has always been with me, as have many in this book that is entitled Decision Point, and I think you see some copies of it right up here. And the subtitle of the book is The Moment Leaders Are Born, The Psychology of Leadership in the Face of Trauma and Tragedy. Johnny's a great leader. Rick is a great leader. I'm not a leader, but I do have a story to tell, and it's the story of my son. And I'm going to read from a section that I contributed to Rick's book. And these aren't my words, though I did write them. They're Ryan's words. And my good friend George Carl, a few weeks back, was accepted and inducted into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. And in his induction speech, he mentioned mental health as the crisis of the 2020s, the crisis of our times. We may think the debt ceiling crisis is a crisis. Might affect us if it comes to pass. But for the 2020s, and George has had experience with mental health issues in his family. Very recent experience, as a matter of fact. I imagine virtually everyone in this room, directly or indirectly, has experienced, either personally or with respect to someone you're close to, the problems and the crisis that mental health really is. And Dawg Nation does so many wonderful things. But this is as important a night to me for Dawg Nation as any night I've experienced. I've had Marty on innumerable times. I've had him on DU hockey coaches shows. I've had him on my own talk show at 104.3 The Fan. I'm at Mile High Sports now. Marty's been on. In first 2 weeks on the air, we had Marty on. And I happen to know a lot of the people who are part of Marty's organization. At least one, Jeff Kingery's been a colleague of mine. And just a brief story to tell you what a great sport hockey is. Jeff Kingery came out here to do Nuggets basketball when Al Albert moved from Denver to New York in 1980. Al happened to be a hockey goaltender in college, although he called Nuggets games brilliantly out here for years. So Jeff comes out to do basketball, and I know he has a baseball background. First conversation I ever had with Jeff, we started talking about our favorite sports. Jeff said, "Oh, there's no question what my favorite sport is." I expect him to say basketball or baseball. I said, "No, hockey, by far." In fact, Marty was telling me that he invited Jeff to be here tonight. And Jeff said, "You know, Merle and I, his wife, are going to stay at home because we've got game 4 of Carolina, Florida. It's a 3-0 series." That's how much of a hockey nut he is. But I want to read a section before I get into Ryan's story. For every child, and this is from Rick's book, that takes his or her own life, there are 10 or 15 others who are thinking about the same thing or considering taking that same action. And George Carl's daughter this past fall was one of those people. She's a freshman at Washington University in St. Louis. And she is alive and well today. George has gone through and overcome 2 cancer scares in his life. And apart from having a raspy voice, he's going strong, and he was there for his daughter. And anybody who is there for people, the way Johnny's there for people, the way Rick's there for people, the way so many of you, virtually all of you, are there for people when they need you. You're doing the Lord's work. Some people suffer quietly in the dark, and that was my son. There are usually some clues, but we need to see them. And we've got to understand how we're impacting our students. Take time to truly connect in real life, in real time, in real ways our children are counting on. And I admit I still have this lingering notion that I let Ryan down. On March 31st of 2017, Ryan was driving home from a party, and he was probably 300 or 400 yards from his home, and he was pulled over. And he was tested and charged with driving under the influence. I, to this day, have no idea how the rest of the night or the early morning unfolded, but somehow, some way, Ryan went from that point to being out at the airport in Kansas City probably around 2:30 in the morning, waiting for a flight back to Denver. That was the state he was in. He tried to call my then wife, Jean, at the time, middle of the night. We didn't hear our phones. Fortunately, he was able to reach his sister, Sarah, who's a psychology major and about to graduate from Colorado State University. And he had done some damage to himself that night, but not terribly serious. And she managed to talk him all the way back home. I'm going to read this, and pardon me for doing so, because I want to be as clear and as precise as I can. And these are Ryan's words. Ryan took his own life back on May 4, 2017. This hit home for me when I had to personally, between the time of the DUI and the time of his death, I walked it out as best I could. I talked to him every day. So did my then wife, Jean. In fact, May 4th was the day he went missing. It turned out to be a full 2 weeks to the day before his body was found near the Kansas-Missouri border, where he had at one time lived. As much as I recall the agony that Jean and I experienced during that time, I also remember the extraordinary support I received from our circle of friends in and around Denver, most notably Rick, his children, his family, also Scott Hastings, who offered to participate and even lead in the search for Ryan. Rick was living back then and working down in Miami for the Dolphins. And their head coach is Adam Gase. And the Dolphins were going through, as the Broncos are now, virtually every other team in the NFL, off-season training activities. And in spite of that, Adam Gase told Rick to do whatever he needed to do, even if it meant leaving work for an extended period. And I'll always be grateful for that. And of course, especially thankful that Rick and Adam invited me down to Miami to visit and spend time with them later that autumn. And it was time I'll never forget. I mean, you may remember there was a hurricane in Florida that autumn. And the week we had designated that I would come down was in the first week in October. Little did any of us know that that week the Dolphins would be preparing for their home opening game, which had been scheduled for a month earlier but had to be rescheduled because of the hurricane. It was the most inconvenient time for a guest to be coming down there, and they let me come down, and they took an interest in me. Adam Gase is getting ready for his home opening game. It's his second year as the head coach of the Dolphins. It's kind of an important week. There's a lot of stuff which Rick knows that were going on inside the organization at the time that were, how shall I put it, distracting. But not only did Rick take time for me, Adam Gase took time for me that week. The day after Ryan had been officially declared a missing person, dozens of his friends from in and around Overland Park, Kansas, began a search for him. More than anything, these men and women showed me that Ryan's impact on their lives and the lives of others had been profound, more than I could have imagined. 40 people walking around a national park on private property for 3 or 4 hours before they were politely told to leave, since it was private property. On the night of May 18th, the police appeared at our house right around the time we had returned from dinner with Rick's family. They had found Ryan's body, believe it or not, less than 50 yards from his parked car, which they had identified 2 weeks earlier. And I've always said, thank goodness, in searching that entire park, none of his friends found his body. It took the police dogs to find it. It took them about 30 seconds. Gene and I had assumed by then that he would not be found alive, though there were always flickers of hope. I was grateful that his friends had not found his body, as I said. Much of my grief centered on the many talks over the phone that Ryan and I had had since he'd been cited for driving under the influence on March 31st. He would tell me about feelings he had never experienced before, which I believe took a large effort to open up, to acknowledge the pain he was in, which he had previously buried, much as I had a year earlier buried a lot of my feelings, going back to childhood. In other words, I considered this a positive development, because I've been taught you express your feelings. I was never brought up to do that, except maybe on the radio. Having gone through the process of recovery myself, I thought, good, he's opening up. And he was getting professional help. That was part of the court order at the time. And my recovery had centered on rediscovery of past secrets concealed deep inside my soul. But what was working for me at more of an advanced stage did not necessarily work for Ryan. His degree of distress seemed insurmountable. So an uncovering of secrets or feelings he had never had yet to experience, process, merely heightened his fear. I was left wondering if, as a father, I should have been more in touch with what he was feeling, his fear of going to court, of having his friends, coworkers, and employers, quote unquote, find him out. He was petrified that he'd lose all his friends, lose his job, but also lose all his friends. No amount of encouragement seemed sufficient to soothe him. He would soon lose his battle to these fears and end his life to escape them. I had last seen Ryan in February when we were joined by his roommate at a Kansas basketball game. And that was kind of an annual rite for us, going back to his college days at Kansas. We'd go to one game a year. And this will be a shocker, but Kansas always won. They were playing at Allen Field, where they basically always win. And Ryan always had a special sense for sports. If he had wanted to be a talk show host, he would have been much better than I've ever been. He had a real instinct and appreciation for what separated success from failure, both individually and collectively. It always seemed as if I learned far more from him about sports than he ever did for me. He was actually one of my better sources, and not in a newsy, gossipy sense. He gave me insight about sports because he was so good at not just performing. I mean, he was a varsity basketball player, but he was a bench player. He wasn't any kind of star, and he knew that. But the insight he had when the head coach at the time, Mike Burkhardt at Cherry Creek High School, in that particular year, was having trouble, by his own admission, reaching the team. He called on Ryan more than once to speak to the team. And Ryan might have played 3 or 4 minutes a game. But Ryan was the one he called on to speak to the team. Because Ryan had a sense and a feeling for everybody else. At his memorial service, our daughter Sarah, Jean, and I were astonished by how many drove long distances to attend his services. We met a good many of his friends we had never even seen before. At no point, there must have been at least 30 people we had never met who drove 8 hours or more from Overland Park, Kansas to Denver for his memorial service. And I felt Ryan's presence at the memorial service. And Rick spoke at the memorial service about knowing exactly where Ryan was. And that he had really never gone missing. And Johnny, I had an experience too when one of the Avalanche executives approached me, Sean Martineau, and said, and he had a son too, that I wasn't alone. He said this at the memorial service, just in a private conversation before the service began. And as all of you know, suicide carries a certain social stigma, but Gene and I always felt that it was important to be honest about it. Shading the truth would be pointless, and in fact, we never came to dread supposed punitive societal attitudes. We were lucky. They simply weren't there for us. And maybe that's because we were lucky enough to have good friends. It would be less than honest, though, to reflect and not admit to feelings of extreme regret and occasional self-loathing. We were vacationing in April down in Fort Lauderdale. In fact, we spent a lot of time with Rick while we were down there. And I remember asking myself, and I still do from time to time, why was I down there on vacation when I could have been with Ryan? And Gene had earlier in the month, in fact, a month after his initial attempt, Gene had spent a week with him in Overland Park. Why hadn't he fully felt my love and respect for him, and not been able to find the self-love that might have shielded him from the unendurable pain of having made one mistake? In the next few months, I came across a C.S. Lewis book entitled The Grief Observed. And it was a used book, and there was an underlined package in that book, a particular passage that read, "Part of every misery is, so to speak, the misery, shadow, or reflection. The fact that you don't merely suffer, but have to keep on thinking about the fact that you suffer. I not only live each endless day in grief, but live each day thinking about living each day in grief. At the same time, though, I continue to be reminded of the love and support I was receiving. Much of it came from Rick, my colleagues at work, others in groups I had newly joined. I had never repudiated my faith, nor had I rejected God. However, my conscious contact was limited, along with a deeper understanding. When I thought of Ryan, on daily walks especially, I realized that I could be more than I had become. In a manner of speaking, I had grown weary of the self-flagellation, the second-guessing, and the suffering. Gradually, I came to embrace and accept that the time and love shared with Ryan, his death and my grief, are and will forevermore be part of my life. Ryan had seen my strengths and my weaknesses, and I could hear him occasionally telling me to push ahead with my life that there would be adventures and challenges to come. At work, I found that I could be open to praise coming from listeners rather than being consumed by their very occasional criticisms. Often in me, there has lurked a feeling of having been deprived of joy, of control, of the chance to see my son's life play out as it should have. Yet now, Rick and others, many of you, from whom I closed myself off in the past, have shown me that my blessings have far outweighed any real deprivation. I've been given the chance to glimpse love and a life shared with the knowledge that there is a plan out there unfolding, even if I don't always recognize it. Through loss, I've learned that while pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice, particularly for those who've been blessed and privileged as I have. And I'll close with this. There's a poem from Paul David Alman that I look at every now and then. Looked at it today. And it's helped me make sense of things. And it's entitled, I'll Never Really Know. I can ask and have 1,000 times why you took yourself away. I can cry and will 1,000,000 tears, but still it slips away. I can rail and have 100 ways at how you chose to go. But the pain which you endured, I'll never really know. I can try and must live my life, but still there seems a lack. I can grow and have amidst the pain, yet still keep looking back. I can pray and do that through the hurt, forgiveness lives to grow. But all the times we might have touched, I'll never really know. But all the times we might have touched, I'll never really know. I know you never meant for things to turn out quite this way, but the legacy you've left behind is a heavy price to pay. If I could sum up the future, I'd say, just let it go. And this is about time that Ryan would say, let it go, Dad. But since I'm out of miracles, I'll never really know. I can cope and do with memories that sometimes flood my mind. I can laugh and have at all the quirks you passed on down the line. I can hope and do that through your life, my own has more to show. But will I ever lose the pain? I'll never really know. Will I ever forget you? I'll never really know. I thank you all for listening, and I hope it's part of this that's helped any and all of you. Thank you.
Well done, Sandy. Well done. So, a few tears in the room there, and including my friend Sandy. But Ryan sounds like an amazing young man, didn't he? Like amazing. And we got to know him a little bit better there, Sandy. So thank you for that. And amazing poem. I'm going to go back and read that myself. And you told me, Dr.P, about this one, that poem. So you got to read that one. So our next guest is Dr. Rick Perea, and he grew up here in Colorado. Found out just a little while ago he's Native American background. Yeah. So when we introduced him to Rick and Riley, and Rick played at George Washington High School. Then he ended up playing for the Broncos, played for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's pretty, when you look at the pro athletes, it's a pretty steep pyramid that the guys that get to play for money, and we got one right back there too, also from GW, so it's pretty cool to get a couple of the guys in the room here. But Dr. Rick has really done some amazing work. This is a guy that has worked with the Nuggets, the Rockies, the Dolphins, as you mentioned, the Cleveland Browns, and the Denver Broncos. And he has a Super Bowl ring because he was a big part of the 2015 Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. And Dr. Rick has did amazing stuff on the field, but way, way more amazing stuff off of the field. And we're incredibly blessed, this room here, to have Rick here tonight and to talk about mental health. And so with that, without further ado, let's have a big hand for Dr. Rick.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. I got to tell you, John, you're 10 feet tall, brother. 10 feet tall, man. What you shared here today takes an enormous amount of courage. I love you, brother. And Sandy, we've been brothers for 10 years, and you keep getting taller, 20, 30 feet, whatever it is. Love you, man. The courage that it takes for him to share what he shared today, amazing. And the cool thing about that is, prior to Ryan's passing, Sandy was closed off. We'd do radio together, and then we'd say bye. Once in a while, we'd have dinner, right? But after Ryan's passing, he opened himself up. And that's what I'm here to share with you today, that we have got to understand we have a choice in the way we view mental health. Stigma, it's gone. We have to eradicate stigma. It's out there. When I worked for the Broncos, you go up to players, say, "What's up, man?" They find out you're a psychologist. Some of them run the other way. I'm going to find out about them, right? But you know what? The great ones, like DeMarcus Ware, who will be inducted in the Hall of Fame in August, he came to me and he said this. It's in my book. He said, "Doc, I have everything you can put in a box. I have every car you can buy. I have every home you can buy. But I don't know who I am as a man." What? 6'4", 260 pounds, first ballot Hall of Famer. You don't know who you are as a man? You talk about courage? You talk about strength? And then after he came into my office and said those words, it was like an avalanche of players coming in. Von Miller, 18. All of those guys started to say, "I need help. What do I got to do?" And I'm here to tell you, I have challenges. I have challenges that I deal with. Just because I have those 3 initials behind my name does not mean that I don't have challenges too. At 7 years old, my 18-year-old brother was murdered. That began a process for me of being able to help others and look for ways. Like you, John, I had to find a way to help others. I couldn't just stay in that. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. And so Sandy has been amazing at sharing his knowledge, his time, to help our cause of Psyched for You that we're developing with Lori, some people back in Miami. Sandy's going to help us with this. Another friend of ours, Chris Brewer, sitting back there, former Denver Bronco running back. He's going to help us with this. We are going to shut out stigma. We can't do this anymore, people. We can't do this anymore. 2 of my sons are sitting here, 19 and 14. My 16-year-old's at home studying for his finals at Cherry Creek High School. But I'm telling you, people, there's a lot going on amongst our adolescents. And we've got to take an assertive and aggressive role. And I'm going to. Tell me I can't do something, and you'll watch what happens. And we're putting this together. We're in the early stages of Psyched for You, but I'm telling you, we're going to make a difference. Okay, real quickly, I need four volunteers. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Some of my Navajo brothers, I hear you. Let's go, Jerry. Coach, come on up here. Right here, in front of here. Okay? I want you guys to hold hands, make a circle. Okay, what I have in front of me, this is an energy stick. Okay? The human body conducts energy, the brain and the body. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. Let me get inside, please. Okay, go ahead and close hands again. So I'm going to put this stick between you, and then when I tell you to grab the end, I want you to grab the end. Okay? Go ahead. Okay, let go. Okay, let me get out. Touch it. Follow my directions. Break.
Oh, sorry.
Touch. Break. touch, break, touch, keep it going. Okay? If one person let go, what happens? It breaks the energy. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Give them the energy. Love you, man. Let me tell you something. I took this 2015-16 to spring training with the Colorado Rockies. We had single A, double A, triple A, major league guys. We had 92 guys there. They all held hands. At the end, Carlos Gonzalez, Nolan Arenado touched. And then I told two players, break. They broke, went off. All we have to have is one person not in. That's all we have to have is one person not in. It'll break a family. It'll break an organization. It'll break a team. When we won the Super Bowl in February of 2016, we were not the best team in the NFL. Had nothing to do with who was the best. But we had this. We had a brotherhood. We had leaders like DeMarcus Ware, like Von Miller. That's all right, we're good. That were willing to be selfless and help each other and love each other and be vulnerable, men especially. We have to get better at being vulnerable and opening ourselves up so we can express our feelings. I want to go over a few statistics with you. 5,000 people, 5,000 adolescents commit suicide every year in the United States. 50,000 adults complete suicide every year. That's 130 people a day. 130 a day. As Sandy said, for every adolescent that takes their own life, there's 15 to 18 that think about it, that are thinking about it seriously. Sometimes they're under our own roof, and we don't even know about it. Males are more than 3 times likely than females to take their life. I want you to understand a few things today. This is a scientific train. Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to mood, mood leads to behavior. We get to shape our thoughts. I have a saying that says, shape your thoughts, or else your thoughts will shape you. We get to shape our thoughts. This is what we do in psychology. We teach protocols. We teach techniques that are breathing, visualization, scripts, so that you shape your thoughts every morning. How many of you work out in the morning, physically? Okay, you get up, you do yoga, you run, you work out. You're willing to work out the neck down. Are we willing to work out the neck up? We've got to be willing to do that, people. We've got to be willing to teach 14-year-olds what anxiety feels like. Somatic, it's the body. Cognitive, it's thinking. Why don't we have this in our curriculum? Why? I can teach it in 15 minutes to 5th graders. 15 minutes. What it feels like. And you know what? More importantly, I can teach that it's okay that you're feeling that. Not that there's something wrong with you. Like now. Oh, you're feeling anxiety? Let me give you a referral to the counselor. Now I'm singled out. Oh my gosh, there must be something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of us. We've got to understand mental health is part of us. It's woven into our daily fabric. And I plead with you that, like Sandy said, everyone in this room has been touched by people who struggle emotionally, psychologically. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I know what we're doing at Psyched for You. We're going to take an active role. Now, a couple thoughts I want you to think about. In psychology, we've developed these psychological constructs. They're terms. Emotional safety and psychological safety. And I'll read them. Emotional safety is creating a climate and culture where being accepted and embraced for who you truly are and what you feel and need. What you truly are. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. What I'm wearing tonight is pretty conservative. I'm a pretty funky dresser, man. If you looked up some stuff, I love hearts, I love flowers, I love lips. Colors. What else? Colors. I love color. When I used to live down in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, I fit right in. I come back to Colorado and people are like, what's up, dog? You all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm really all right. But to be who we truly are. You know, think about that. Ask yourself the question right now. Are you really, truly, authentically who you are? In the way you dress, in the way you communicate, in the way you love? Love? Do you know how to accept love? Hell yeah, you do. If you trust yourself. But we haven't been taught to trust ourselves since we were this tall. And further, we socialize boys and girls differently. A little girl falls off her trike, come here, mijita, and we nurture her. A little boy falls off a trike, you're all right, dog. Rub some dirt on it. So what does he think? Oh, yeah, get up, amigo. I can't cry, really. And then we kind of socialize them all the way up. Now you got two 18-year-olds hanging out. A girl that knows how to communicate in general, express themselves, and a boy who doesn't really know how because he hasn't been socialized to in general, not always. And that's wherein lies the 3 times the suicide rate for boys than girls. I firmly believe we've got to get better, men, at learning how to express ourselves, learning how to communicate, learning how to be vulnerable. Chris Brewer, who sits back there, was my high school teammate. I still joke with him to this day. I'm the only guy who could tackle him in the open field. He was a running back. Goes on to the University of Arizona, gets drafted by the Denver Broncos in 1984. An incredible athlete, incredible athlete. This year will be inducted in the George Washington Hall of Fame. But I'm going to tell you something. Me and Chris are authentic. Would you say that, Lori? Yeah, we love each other. We tell each other we love each other. We hug each other. We talked about fear today. He was in my office. We were talking about fear. And I told him the greatest thing I feared as a man, the greatest thing that I feared as a man is I put so much pressure on myself to be a provider. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I'm like, man, I got a mortgage, I got car payments, I got all this stuff. I better not fail. Because if I fail, my parents, her parents are going to look at me like, dang, what's going on with you, buddy? They're not going to look at my wife and go, what's going on with you? No, I'm the provider. In our society, males take on that role. And I can honestly remember thinking this. Why do I have to take all this on? Because I'm a male? And I'm not saying we shouldn't provide. I love providing for my boys to the best of my ability. But we've got to get better at that socialization process to say, men, it's okay. It's okay if there's some fear in there. It's okay if there's some pain in there. It's okay that you can express yourself. I need help. I need help. You know, Julius Thomas, who used to play here in Denver, then he went to Jacksonville, and then he came down to Miami. In Miami, him and I connected. We had a standing appointment, 1 o'clock every Friday afternoon. Julius would come into my office, and he's like, Dawg, D-A-W-G, okay, as opposed to Doc. Call me Dawg, don't call me Doc, right? So he'd come into my office, and he'd like, man, he said, check this out. He says, if I hurt my knee at practice, I can walk into the trainer and go, you know, I tweaked my knee. Can you take a look at it? Sure, hop up on the table. But if I walk in and I go, you know, I'm really struggling with my emotions right now. And you tell your position coach that, you tell your defensive coordinator that, your offensive coordinator that, what are you going to get? Yeah, they're going to kind of look at you like, you all right, bro? All right, we'll get you someone. But in the back of their mind, there's a fear that, damn, they're going to cut me because they think I'm a weak link. In reality, that's the strongest person on the team that I can go, I need some help. Because I remember the first time number 58 said to me, Vaughn, he goes, Doc, I'm good, man. That's psychological shit. I'm good. I said, bro, come see me. After he did, he was like, I had no idea. I had no idea I would be freed up. Fast forward a year, remember they came out and played the Broncos after, because I was with the Broncos, and then I went over to the Dolphins. The Broncos came out and played us in Miami. After the game was over, talking to all my boys, all my dogs, and Vaughn came over and he's like, Doc, you got to come back. I said, don't work like that, bro. I said, but we can always work together. We can always love together. And he goes, what? And I said, we can always love together. He goes, see, that's what I love about you, man. He's like, you just go where nobody else does. People, it is about love. You know, when I send text messages, I love emojis, right? People that know that. I love emojis because they're so expressive. Somebody will give me a sentence and I just send a red heart. That's all I can say. Like, I'm loving it. But I'm telling you, we in the United States, I learned a lesson by going to Costa Rica. Do not call it American because they're like, we're America too. In the United States, we reserve those 3 words, I love you, for about 5 people. Excuse my French, but F that. Jerry, head coach at Arapahoe High School, okay? I love this man. I'm not in love with him, but I love this man. You know why? Because there's 2 foundational aspects to love: belief and trust. I trust him with everything I have. I believe in him 100%. My son goes to Cherry Creek High School. I don't work with Cherry Creek High School. I work with Arapahoe. People, I'm telling you, we've got to love one another. Be willing to say, I love you. Be willing to say, men, be willing to say that to other men. We're not vulnerable enough in our society, and that's why we have a major contributing factor, why we have 3 times as many males taking their life as females. There's a song that I chronicled in my book. It's called Love is the Answer. And I want to respect your time. Go out and listen to it. John Ford Coley and England Dan. It's a beautiful song. I think late 70s, early 80s. But in that song, it says, when you're down and out, love one another. When you need a friend, love one another. When you're near the end, love one another. Seems pretty simple, huh? But I'll ask you, audience, why don't we do that? Why aren't we more readily loving each other? Tell me why. I want to hear it. Tell me why. Fear. Scared. Who said it? Fear of what?
Just rejection.
And you know what? There is no rejection in the world. There is no failure in the world. We think failure's here and success is here. They're interdependent. You have to have failure to have success. You have to have success to have failure. The best athletes in the world have failure, people. The best business people in the world, the best mothers, fathers. You've done a great job with your kids. She flew all the way here from Florida to be here tonight. She left her kids, and that pains her. I know that. Have you failed as a parent some days? Yeah, there's days you go to bed and you're just like, oh my gosh. So this one is 240 pounds. I got a 16-year-old that's 240 pounds. He's about ready to hit puberty. Those 3 get going? Oh my gosh. I just want to run away sometimes. But people, fear, there's no fear in the world. We create it right here. Remember shaping your thoughts? I love my life. I love my family. I love what it feels like to go through my day with no fear, only strength and courage. You say that 6 times before you get up, before you walk out the door. You know what your brain starts to believe? It starts to believe it. The brain is here, the mind is here. You train your brain every day, your mind comes over and goes, I guess that's who we are. Okay, fear. Who else said something? Why aren't we loving each other as freely? Someone said it.
I was saying stigma.
Stigma, you're right. And why do we have that stigma? Why? Let's say it again. Scared? Is that what you said? We're scared. But What's there to be scared of? You know, I was talking to one of my students, one of my clients, it's a student, and I said, let me give you some advice. When I was in my 20s, I got a mortgage, car payments, all that, and I worried, could I do that? Could I hold it up? It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time to worry about anything external. Give me one more. Why else don't we love each other freely? Huh?
We're taught to fear.
Thank you, brother. We are taught to fear. We are conditioned to fear. That's why we created Psyched for You. Because we're going to get this in the curriculums. I'm telling you, we're not going to try. We're not going to try anything. We're going to do it. I will not stop until we do it. People say, oh, it's hard to get in school districts. It's hard. Right. Right. Well, guess what? There's no plan B. We're going with plan A, and we're going forward. But people, trust, love, eradication. Train your brain every morning. Train your brain. Use scripts. Prayer is a form of script. What you tell your brain every day, it will do. I want to just read a couple of sociologically driven factors in the way kids develop harming behavior. Interpersonal communication and listening styles. There are listening styles. Some people are time-oriented. Some people are people-oriented. But we've got to understand how the different communication in general between males and females. How they view competition. Males and females in general view competition different. That influences the way they perceive success and failure. There is no failure. Remember, there is no failure. And then the most powerful thing, I think, and Lori has shared this with me, thoughts are visitors. Thoughts, feelings, and perceptions are visitors. Now, you have visitors that come to your house for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 days, whatever it is. It's temporary. We have adolescents making lifelong decisions, life-altering decisions, because of visitors, because of something that comes and then goes. If we just hold on and shape our thoughts, people, I'm telling you, I got goosebumps in my back of my neck. I'm telling you, we're going to do it. And I want you to go out. If you do anything from tonight, start shaping your own thoughts. Because you can take control of your life, how you think, feel, and behave. Thoughts are visitors. They're not there permanently. And I'm telling you, this man right here, Sandy Clough, knows that personally, and I've watched him do it. Prior to Ryan's passing, good job today, Rick. We'll see you next time. Since Ryan's passing, let's go get a bite. Let's go play golf. Let's be together. Comes over with the boys. Boys love it. Sandy coming over? Sandy coming over? I'll finish by saying this. Most of you I don't know in this audience. I know some of you. But I love you. And I trust you, and I believe in you. And I hope you believe that, because I do 100%. And we have 100% control over the way we think, feel, and behave every day, every week, every month, and every year. Our life will be shaped by the way we think. You know, Super Bowls are cool. National championships are cool. State championships. But you know what is the coolest thing of all? Is human connection. Human connection. And I mean between friends, between lovers, between basketball teammates. Man, I got to tell you this last story because I see your smiling face. I started working with the Arapahoe girls basketball, and people were like, bro, you working with pro teams. What are you doing? I said, having more fun than I've ever had in my life. These girls, I'll tell you what happened. The first game, coach gets up and he's doing all his scheme and X's and O's and everything. And then the coaches leave. And I'm getting ready to leave too. And the girls go, Dr. P, stay here. So I stayed. They got this little, what's that, the little boom box, a little surge, whatever it's called, the speaker. So they pull off their phones, they pull up some music, and they just, they start jamming. And then one of a time they get in a circle, and the other ones, and then they all look at me, and I'm like, all right. So I started working it too. And they were like, oh my gosh, Dr. P. And you know what? We went out and kicked ass. Because we had fun, because we loved one another, we trusted each other with everything. People, I'm telling you, love is the answer. John, love you, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Love you too.
Sandy. Thank you all. I appreciate it. I have about 5 or 6 books. I think we're going to raffle them off, give them out for free. Enjoy it. Julius Thomas wrote the foreword. DeMarcus Ware wrote a piece in there. It's all beauty. Love you guys. Thank you.
How good was that guy? As advertised, as they say. Actually, we're going to do kind of a round table right now. And so Johnny, come up here. Sandy, come up here. Rick, come up here. Not really a round table. This is your chance to raise your hand if you got any questions for these guys. Really around your own life. I know this is that might be a little bit like Johnny stepping out of your comfort zone here, but if you got any questions, raise your hand. We got anyone here? Go ahead.
Mood and behavior.
Let's give you the mic so they can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat what you said about thoughts, feelings, mood, behavior?
Yeah, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to mood, mood leads to behavior. Yeah. Feelings, like I can hurt a person's feelings right now, but it takes me a minute to change their mood. So feelings are more quick and impactful, and then mood is over time. And your mood, think about it, when you're in a good mood, you usually do good things. When you're in a bad mood, it affects things. So thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to mood. And that's scientifically supported. That's not just a hypothesis. Thank you. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool when you know you have like that control. It's like, let's go.
We have someone else here? All right, Chris, we're going to bring you the mic. Aaron's got the mic for you.
A quick testimony. This dude right here on the radio was one of the scariest dudes in life on radio. I mean, I'm a Denver native, so I've been listening to you forever. He is the sweetest guy. You still do a great job on radio. Sometimes you are scary. But you're not the same guy. And we want to thank Ryan that you've grown to where you are today. And we want to thank Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll guarantee you in high school, that's not the same guy you guys see sitting up here. But he has grown to who he is today. In a million years, like I said, we played high school football together. In a million years, I never would have thought in my mind that he would be doing what he's doing. And it's authentic, it's real, and just God bless you. You know I love you. So
love you, brother. Love you, man.
When I get inducted, he's introducing me. Yeah. And since I said it, thank you, Johnny. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And blessed is the man whose sins are forgiven. That's what it says in the Bible. But you have to believe it. There's no condemnation. All right? Amen.
So if anybody missed that, that's Chris Brewer, former Denver Bronco right there, and George Washington, Patriot, right? Patriot. And this is a Hall of Famer at George Washington. They started a Hall of Fame there in 2016, you said? And this guy's going to be one of the next inductees. Give him a hand for that. That's pretty cool. So I mean, anyone else here? We got a great panel here to ask some questions. I know some of these are kind of tough. Personally, I'm going to probably talk to these guys separately myself. So I've got a couple that I probably am too scared to say in front of these guys. But if there's anyone else here that just wants to share something or ask something, we got a great panel right here.
So maybe this isn't just for
Hold on, you got it.
So maybe this isn't just for the panel, but along with suicide, children going into schools, taking others' lives, it's not acceptable. And it really needs to be addressed. And the suicide, I feel, they take their life and they take their victims with them. Some of them. And I think it goes hand in hand. I think our children need to be protected. All of them, every single one of them. And I think that they need to be able to go to school and be able to learn and be able to grow and be able to learn the beauty with your principles, with your courage, because they deserve it. And they need people, leaders like you guys. I feel you're all leaders. They need it. They need good men, strong men. They need good women, strong women. They need us to get our shit together. The older people, the elders, so we can teach them what they never had. We need to teach them how to love, to ask for help, to get better, but we have to model it too. And so I'm very concerned about our schools. So I just put it out there because I know everybody is, but I don't see solutions. I don't see us doing anything. I see us sitting around. I see us talking about it. I see the media talking about it, but I don't see action. I don't see any brilliancy. The brilliancy of what's here, what's now. Why in the hell are we letting it happen? Why are we not standing around our schools like chains, like, fuck no. My school, my kid, my country, get out. I don't care if you're American here.
Well, can I address that? We are going to do something. We are doing, and you know, people are out there maybe saying, oh, well, people have tried it before. This is a different initiative. Trust me, it's a different initiative. We're pulling from a lot of different sources, and I won't be denied. I just won't. I have different approaches. You know what code switching is, people? Code switching is you will switch wherever group. If I need to be articulate, I'll be articulate. If I need to be a gangster, I can turn that on too. Whatever we got to do to get there, we will do it. I'm telling you right now, it'll happen.
I want to be there because I do not.
Yeah.
I do not want to see one more child go, whether it's suicide, whether it's because somebody was shot. I'm done.
Well, let me tell you something real quick that will help you guys understand. When we won the Super Bowl in February of 2016, this book was supposed to be called The Psychology of a World Championship. Because I wanted everyone to understand what goes on behind the scenes from the neck up, check up from the neck up. But as I started interviewing players, the DeMarcus Wares, the Von Millers, all of them, trauma. And I'm like, wait a minute. To talk about the psychology of a world championship would be way oversimplistic. So that's how I came to Decision Point, the moment leaders are born, in the face of trauma and tragedy. And so there is a little bit of Super Bowl in here, but there's so much about people overcoming trauma and tragedy. And we can do that at the core level of family systems if we learn and trust with love in each other. Because it starts right here at home. Who was it that said, Mother Teresa, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Golly, how many of us take care of other people's backyards, but we don't take care of our own backyard? Love your family. Love that person sitting to your right, to your left. We'll do this, man. We're going to do this. Because you know what? I've been blessed enough to win some championships as a psychologist. I played a little bit. I've coached. I'm ready to take this on. I'm ready to take this on. And I got heavyweights. In this room, let me tell you something. Here's my professor coming out. I used to be a college professor. Every single person in this flipping room is a genius in something. 100%. 100%. You are a genius in something. That's no joke. That's research and evidence-based. It just takes the courage to let it come out and let it breathe. Let me shut up.
Kind of what you were saying. I have my son now 15, and Violet she'll be 13 this year in October. And growing up, that's all they see is medals and this and this and this and this. And she asked me one day, "What's valor?" And the best way I could put it is, you're scared. Everybody's scared. Everybody's scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway is what sets you up. And being able to talk, like you said, especially in the Army as an NCO, I got to be able to tell 6 different people the same thing 6 different ways. Now, how do I do that? I can't remember. I've been blown up a lot. But it's going back to what you were saying about just being able to do it. Everybody's scared. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to show their vulnerability. Nobody wants to look at it and be reminded of what happened. I have a plate, 6 screws, 2 fused discs, and a pin in my neck. That's just part of it. I think about it every day. Every time I move, every time it cracks. I can't bend down without a crack. And it's not like an accordion going on my neck. But you know what? Now that's who I am. I've been put back together. I've been rebuilt. Sometimes better. Still can't play the violin, Just do my shoulders. Get surgery on my shoulder. Can't play the violin? Played before? No. But so I'll leave it with that. It's just be brave. Sometimes you got to do the dirty work. Sometimes you got to go where people don't like. And if you say something, you may not even know the guy. You may not even know the girl, wherever, in the store, on the street corner, standing there waiting to cross the street with someone. I can't, as you can tell, I'm pretty country. And coming from the middle of nowhere, western Nebraska, back down to Denver, and it's kind of culture shock a little bit, you know what I mean? Even up where I live now, up the mountain in Morrison, up by Conifer, it's still the amount of people that, as you walk by and all of a sudden, if you look me in the eye, I'm going to say something like, "Hey, how are you?" And it'd be amazing how many people just look away or turn around. They're too worried about everything going on here. I got this, I got to go here, I got to go here, I got to go here, I got to go here. So what happens when you don't have to go anywhere? Then what do? You sit around and find something to do? Do you know how to relax? Do you know how to sit there? I sure as hell don't. I still haven't figured it out. I work constantly because it's the only thing I know how to do. So you never know. You might make somebody's day.
You will make someone's day. You will. And I'll say this about questions. All of you out there have a question. You have it. And I'll say this. Share it, because you know what? You're going to help other people. They're going to learn from your question. So we'd love to have a few more questions before we wrap it up.
All right, this guy, talked to him earlier. Let's go, babe.
Do you have any advice for family members dealing with mental ills? My sister deals with depression, anxiety, bipolar, all that stuff. How and I thought about a couple things. The answer's already there. It's love, and then the energy circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
When our whole family
Yeah.
and everybody's connected,
Mm-hmm.
the needle moves forward.
Yeah.
But when there's a break in that energy and that communication, everybody's on board, things seem to fall apart. But any advice on, family members dealing with their siblings with mental illness?
So, I mean, because I'm the only psychologist up here, I'll answer that. Is that fair? What's that?
I've been on enough psychiatrists.
Yeah. Without trying to capitalize, I mean, my cards are up here. I'd be willing to help. My approach is I don't do therapy. I do coaching, mental coaching, and enhancement. So we focus on virtues, like what's positive. There's some positive in your sister's life, guarantee you. Maybe the vast majority. We're going to focus on that. We're going to focus on techniques to help her regulate that anxiety. Because when anxiety is high, I don't mean to start an anatomy class, but we have what's called the autonomic nervous system. You have a sympathetic and parasympathetic. When you're on the parasympathetic, you're calm and chill. When you're on the sympathetic, it's stress and anxiety. We teach people how to live on the parasympathetic, which is calm. And when they learn how to do that, it becomes a norm. So, all these people that say, oh yeah, we're going to talk about, I've been seeing a psychologist for 3 or 5 years. No, we can teach protocols in 16 weeks so they have tools in their toolbox when the real world's coming along, they know how to take it on. When I hear about someone like that, I just think to myself, my gosh, I can help her. And I can, because it is about love, though. There are people here, Kaya's one, if you don't mind me sharing, she was a client who became an employee because she loved what we do. And she just has grown so much. And it is about love, but it's about techniques as well. So that's the best advice I can give you in a minute, 38 seconds.
Make sure she knows she's not alone. Just let her know that, and it'll be like almost like beating a dead horse at times. It will. I suffer from depression, anxiety. What's the other one? I say that on that. I thought you knew. I don't remember.
Short-term memory.
There you go.
Recall. Yeah.
I was going to ask Johnny specifically because we work together. I don't like to say he works for me. We work together. But he follows that mantra of reach out. I mean, the guy called me so many times. Do you have a place for me, a job, a this, or that? I got 2 kids, a dog, and I'm going, what? This sounds like a real nightmare. How am I going to fit this into my life? I have a stables in Morrison, and I had enough help at the time, and he was looking for a place to stay, and I said, okay, this doesn't even make sense, but let's just give it a go. And I found out he was living in his truck, and it was going to be about 20 degrees and lower than that. And but my main concern was his well-being. I didn't even know him, but he reached out enough to kind of, for some reason, I trusted this person, and I said, I don't really know. We'll just put you in a place that's going to be definitely better than your truck. And so that's my connection to Johnny, and I wanted you to talk about, you have the cognitive, the coaching, but one of the things, the reason why you reached out to a stables is because of your connection with animals and how that's a mirror for you. And when you are in your head and your thoughts are going, the minute you step into the stables and see a chicken waddling, or hear a donkey braying, like that's your home. And so I know that there are all sorts of strategies out there, but animals seem to work for a lot of people, and that's how we are connected, is through animals. So I don't know where else that's going, but that, I know you wanted to talk about that piece.
Ramble on there a little bit. With the fact with the animals, what it is it's one of two things, one of two or three places that I feel completely comfortable, because it keeps you in the moment. And you have to stay in the moment, because once you get in your head, or once you're seeing somebody get in their head, when they get quiet and kind of wander off, you're like, oh boy, here he goes again. Here he goes again. That's when that'll stop it in a heartbeat. A couple months ago, we had this one horse that had left. Greatest personality out. I mean, this thing was like, he was a huge puppy. He was a huge puppy, like a 1,200-pound puppy. And I'd walk by his pen every day, and walk by his run, and I don't remember what happened, ex-girlfriend or something. I was just angry. And I was just walking by, and I'd stopped, and I just kind of rested on the rail. And the fact that, he walked over, and he kind of just leaned in front of me a little bit, and stopped. And he would like lean again, because I was just staring straight. Just kind of picking his head in, pick his head in again, kind of like, hey man, what are you doing? What's going on? And the fact that any animal will do it, that they know exactly what you're feeling, exactly what you're going through. You're not going through, but they pick up on it. They know when you're sad. They know when you're happy. If you got a dog or a cat at the house, right? I'm sure dog's always happy to see you too, but that's the connection that it has. That's what it'll do.
That's the energy you're talking about. Right. They can feel the energy. Yeah.
Are we good? Anyone else? All right, Jack.
I just want to make a comment that several times that I have thought about how we're all mental and we all have challenges and things happen in your life. But people look at seeking help as not being strong, and that's totally wrong. Seeking help is not a weakness, it's strength, and I've seen it happen. A lot of people just get running in their mind tonight that that's what people need to do. Besides love each other, seek the help. If you're having a problem, talk to a family member, talk to your grandma, your friend, somebody. Or just go outside and find somebody that's a doctor that you think can help you.
But the way we create that safety so we can do that is through loving each other. That's what creates we call it psychological safety, emotional safety, so I can feel safe to express that. You said there was fear in loving. That's when we have psychological safety, we don't have it. We're like, lay it on the line. Like I tell people, I have zero fear of getting hurt in a relationship. Zero. Because why? I mean, I've been on this earth a while now, and it's time to roll. It's time for me to be my whole self.
It takes two to tango.
And every single one in this room, no matter what you've been through, you can choose that lifestyle every day. Don't hold yourself back.
All righty. We are actually going to do our raffle prizes here. Aaron's going to come on up, and we've got some cool stuff that we're going to give away. So first up, how about a big hand for these guys?
Thank you.
What do you want? Do we got our numbers? All righty. I don't know if everyone got their tickets, but the first thing off the bat, what are we going to do right off the bat?
We're going to do the Pilates sessions with Kelly.
Pilates. Where's Kelly? Kelly's right here. So she's going to do Pilates session. Thank you for that donation. And we don't have a ton of tickets in here, so this is going to be quick. This one ends in 656. 656 ends in 656. Oh, nobody won that one, so we're going to go again. Rick, you got the Pilates session? So this one ends in 664. All righty. Shayla, come on up and get your Pilates session. What else? All right, you guys saw that Psyched for You a bunch of times. So we got a bunch of sizes here. We're going to do 2 of these shirts. So you get to pick the size here. So Dr. Rick's going to give you one here, or Lori is, one of the 2. And the first person that gets this is a 678. 678. Anybody get a Psyched for You? No? How is that possible? So anyway, I thought, well, this is going to be easy because everyone's got their number. Psyched for You shirt for 657. All righty, come on up and get your Psyched shirt. And we're going to do one more right here because we're going to do 2 of these. And we've got number 680. 680. 680. All righty, my brother gets this one. How about that? That's my brother, Mark. So how about that? So now we're going to do a Rick book here. This is pretty good. That was the one Sandy was reading out of. So you can see that. And Rick, you're going to sign these for whoever wins these, right? So that'll be cool. So we're going to do 2 of these. And the first one is 677. 677. Oh, Rick gets it from Rick. How about that? So he's going to sign your book right there. And we've got, how about that? So these are 2 Native Americans up there. How about that? Rick and Rick. So 674. Oh, David Carr in the house, baby. Come on up. And this one's yours. Oh, this is really cool. So so Dave was broken head to toe in a head-on car accident, and I like to tell the story. What was the guy's name? Brian Shaw. Literally, yeah. This story is pretty amazing. He was leaving, going home to his brand new home. His fiancee Barb in the back there at the time, now wife. Sunny Colorado day, and he thought, "What a beautiful place I live, and I get to go home to a beautiful wife, beautiful brand new home." And a person in the other lane, whether they were texting or whatever, head-on collision at 50 miles an hour both directions. And it ended the life of the person in the other car. And so who knows whatever really happened. But Dave was broken head to toe, like literally head to toe. And there were no first responders there. Nobody was there. And the first car that pulled up, it was this guy named Brian Shaw. And unbeknownst to Dave, Dave was pinned against, with the door was smashed against his chest. The airbag was pushing against him. And who knows how long Dave was going to live because he couldn't breathe. And this guy comes up to his car, and the guy, later we found out, he did a podcast on this thing, was thinking, should I just turn around? My wife and I, we need a break. We need to leave and get a break for the weekend. We had great plans going. And he sees this accident. He's like, that looks pretty bad. Tells his wife, I think I need to go over there and check it out. There's no cops there. There's no firefighters there. There's no first responders there. But Dave's there. And he sees Dave in distress. And this guy, Brian Shaw, no joke, how this happened is literally the strongest man in the world. 4-time strongest man in the world champion. That Brian Shaw is the first guy that drives up on this accident. This guy's dying. Chris Brewer, you're a badass and a big man, but I'm not sure you can rip the door off a car. But Brian Shaw can. And then he pulls the airbag away and leaves and saves his life and allows Dave to call, right? I mean, he called you. Barb gets a phone call, and Brian leaves. He has no idea who this guy is. 6 weeks later, how long? 6 months later, someone shares a podcast from a guy named Brian Shaw who tells this story, has no idea who Dave Carr is. Amazing. How about that? How about that? That's whose book you just signed, or that the book you signed, your book you signed for him. Pretty cool, right? So this is cool. You guys, we started the night with Tyler Smith from the Humboldt accident, and he started a program called or a clothing line said "Not Alone" or "It's okay to be okay," or "It's okay to be not be okay," and that's okay. But he actually has a really cool clothing line, and this he has donated a shirt that you can just go, or a sweatshirt or whatever. But whoever wins this gets to just go on his site, and you get to talk to Tyler and pick something out. How about that? So that guy's a pretty cool kid. Lives up in Calgary. So this one, I'd like to win this one. 668. 668. Oh, Walshy gets it out of the back. Look at Walshy. Well done. You're going to love this one. I've got a couple of those myself. And okay, this is our last one. This is actually at Dr. Rick's office here, and it's float therapy sessions. And if I get this right, every NFL team is going to have this next year, right?
Oh, yeah. Most of them have them now, but they'll be required to have them in 25. Sensory deprivation tanks, a.k.a. float tanks.
Yeah, these are pretty cool. So not everybody can handle these because it's a little claustrophobic, right? But this is pretty cool. So this is a great item. Thank you for this one. And this one is 652. Oh, baby. You want this one, Maddie? Yeah, this is going to be cool. This is going to be cool. Yeah. And so our last one, this is not actually anything, but this is, I got moved by this one tonight. We were going to maybe raffle this one off and different things, but I said, I thought about this. This is Rick and I have talked about it, and we said he's an incredibly generous man, and obviously very smart and motivational and good looking and all that other stuff, right? So and I love you, buddy. But anyway, this is a great item here, and this is for 10 sessions with one of the top psychologists around. Pretty awesome deal. We were going to raffle this, but instead, I think you're going to know why I'm giving this one to Johnny. And so with that, you guys, I know there's a little bit of beer left, and there's a lot of bit of wine left, and there's a little bit of food. So if you get a chance, meet some people, take some pictures. Thank you all for coming out today. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
There's a few more books up here. Actually, let me give them away. I think.
You want to give more away?
Yeah, I'm going to give this family right here a book. And then there was, who was the person? I don't know. I don't want to play favorites, but I kind of got.
Do you want to pull a number out on this one?
A number?
You want to do one more number?
Yeah, sure. We can do that, but I had.
Oh, do you know someone you want?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. All right. It's all you.
Yeah. Whose hand went up first? I'm a little. I work with a lot of coaches at all levels, and I'm sorry, I met another coach tonight, so. There you go. Yeah. Actually, I got one more. And you put your hand up first. This young man right here. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, thank you. Put your hand off that. It's mine.
Sure. But anyway, what I was going to say is if you have any questions, cards and brochures up here of what we do. And also there's information about Psyched, what we're doing, this initiative and how we're starting. Yeah, I can just pass them out and you pass them around. And join us, you know, so. What's up, dog? How was that?